Hello สวัสดีครับ Welcome back to English 3.2. All right, just give me 1 minute.เนลสวัสดีครับฮัลโหลฮัลโหลได้ยินครับเนลครับวันเดือนกันยาเนี่ยผมมีตารางยังไงบ้างไหมมียังไงบ้างฮะเพราะเท่าที่ผมเห็นเนี่ยมันจะมีแค่วันที่1แต่มันน่าจะมีเมคอัพคลาสมากกว่านั้นหรือเปล่าเอ่ยได้ครับไม่ต้องรีบครับเดี๋ยวเองรบกวนส่งให้ผมจะได้ส่งไปให้ที่บริษัทเขาดูเขาจะได้ไม่มาลง inspection ทับวันที่ผมสอนครับ หมดแล้วเหรอครับอ๋อเป็น IELTS ไม่มีแล้วนะฮะอ๋อโอเคครับแล้วก็อีกทีหนึ่งก็จะเป็นตุลาเลยหรือเปล่าครับเห็นตุลาเนี่ยผมมีสอนเป็นคลาสTTS หรืออะไรสักอย่างผมไม่แน่ใจที่มันเป็นวันเดียวใช่มันจะเป็นช่วงปิดเทอมอะฮะเห็นอาจารย์ปินลองถามอาจารย์ปินดูก็ได้ใช่ครับถ้าไงรบกวนลองคุยกับอาจารย์ปินแล้วถ้าเป็นไปได้ช่วยบอกวันนิดนึงฮะว่าจะให้ผมสอนวันไหนดีผมจะได้เป็นล็อกวันนั้นเอาไว้ครับโอเคครับมีอะไรจะถามได้เลยครับมีจะถามอะไรอ๋อได้สิครับได้ครับได้เลยแต่ว่ากันยานี้ไม่มีอะไรแล้วนะมีแค่วันที่1วันเดียวโอเคครับอือฮึอือฮึโอเคครับได้เลยวันนี้ไม่มีใครเข้ามาเรียนใช่ไหมฮะผมเห็นมีปัญหาอะไรครับอ่าโอเคไม่เป็นไรไม่เป็นไรผมจะได้อ่าโซโล่ไปก่อนเลยครับโอเคครับสวัสดีครับ All right, guys. Okay. Let me just share my screen right now. Screen sharing successful. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to English 3.2. You are with me, Nat. Whether you like it or not, we're going to be together for 3 hours, so let's make the most of the time that we have. Right. So, chapter 4. So in this chapter, we'll be dealing mainly with persuasive strategy. Okay. Um, I think we did pre-test last time, right? So I'm gonna skip this one. We'll definitely come back here once again after the end of this chapter. Okay, just to do a second attempt. Sorry, second attempt. All right. So here we go. There are five different strategies to make your writing more persuasive. One is being specific, right? And that's what we were focusing on in our last session, right? Be specific. So you guys should by now understand what I mean by being specific, okay? So in a nutshell, um, if you make your support specific enough, meaning you use the precise term, you don't use terms that could have multiple meanings. You don't use terms that could be interpreted into many different things. Okay, and so that's what you want to avoid, right? You want to avoid using terms that are too vague, all right, that can lead to multiple interpretations. You don't want to use that, okay? You want to uh, ask yourself questions. Of, if would my uh, would there be enough evidence, okay, to make a certain assertion that you make, right? Okay, try to use numbers as well. Okay, using numbers will clear things up. All right, you leave no questions behind. Right. And if you look at the example from our last session, you will see that these two paragraphs have different level of persuasive power, right? The first paragraph that talks about, basically these two paragraphs talk about the same thing, right? But the first paragraph lacked the power to persuade people because it begs so many questions, right? It begs questions like, how can I believe that that your conclusion is valid, right? What was the conclusion of this hypothesis? Well, it says here most people believe that work and play should be balanced, or in other words, should have equal amount of time. Well, that's the conclusion, right? And to draw this conclusion, right, we need to we need the sample size to be big because when we say most of the people, right? Yeah, like when we say most of Thai people or most of the people who live in Bangkok, when we say most, right? We can't be asking questions from you know, 3 or 5 people, right? The sample size too small, right? In order to come to conclusion that most people who live in Bangkok or most Thai people, we need our sample size to be large, all right? Maybe if we ask 1,000 people who live in Bangkok, okay, and more than 80% said certain thing, maybe that is a more you know a more valid claim to make, right? If you are thousands people about whether they want to buy EV cars or not, right? And 80% or 800 say yes, then that means there's a real opportunity for EV cars in Bangkok because most of the people want EV car. Well, of course, you only ask 1,000 people, right? How many people are living in Bangkok? 10 million, right? But by interviewing 1,000 people, and 80% said yes, you can almost extrapolate that to the larger number, right? So maybe if 80% of the thousands say yes, then maybe 80% of the 10 million would say yes as well. And what is 80% of 10 million? That's 8 million, right? So you have a very high chance of making a fortune in EV car business, right? So yeah, we need sample space behind, right? In this survey here, I mean, this when they say I asked my peers about balance between work and play, he didn't give us specific details about how many. So how can we rely on his conclusion? If he asked like three people and two out of three said, yeah, work and play should have equal time, that is not that is not good enough. I mean that information might not be valid, right? When we apply it to the larger population, right? So that's not cool. Okay. And and also another question is, how do you know? How would you tell um, whether the 66% say that work and play should have equal um, ratio or have equal percentage of time? I mean, did they say exactly that? Or did they say something and you take it to mean a certain thing? Okay, so you need to provide some transcript, right? Okay, so that's uh, that's how being specific work. Now, I would like you to have a go with exercise one. So I want you to make a hypothesis about when people should get married, and then try to prove your hypothesis by interviewing some of your friends. Then you want to write a paragraph explaining the result of your experiment and some specific details. Okay, so first make a hypothesis about when people should get married. You could say anything, like people should get married. I think most people want to get married at the age of 30. Or you can say, I think most of the people want to get married um, when they feel ready. Okay, so it's up to you, right? Maybe time is not the criteria that they use to decide when to get married. Maybe it's something else, right? Right. So feel free to make any hypothesis, and then you want to ask your friends, all right, who sit next to you. Okay, so you're going to conduct a small survey here, all right, among our classmates. Okay, let's see if your hypothesis is true. Now, when you say, for example, most people want to get married at the age of 30, okay, that is not your opinion, okay? I mean, that's not when you want to get married. Maybe you want to get married at the age of 60. That's fine. But when you make hypothesis, you have to think for other people, right? You have to sort of try to guess or try to read the mind. At what age do they want to get married? This is not about you. This is about people who sit next to you. Okay, so you're gonna have to make a guess, all right, for your friends when they want to get married. All right, and then we prove that by asking them to see whether your guess is correct. Okay, so I like to give you maybe 4 minutes, okay, just to try to ask your friend who sit next to you or sit behind you about these questions. Okay, I also want you to try to record his or her statement. Okay, it would be perfect if you can take a minute. I mean, write down what your friend says. Okay, but if it's too much to do, then you can just, write it in your own words. Okay. All right. Now I also want to know the questions that you use to ask your friends about this. Okay, because in order for the answer to be valid, your questions has to be valid as well, right? Invalid questions will lead to invalid answer. Okay, all right, let's do that. 4 minutes. Okay. Um, so you guys got anything? All right. Now let me just give you an example, all right, of how you want to write a report based on the data that you collected. All right. Okay. So, oops. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay. Suppose I'm one of your classmates, right? I don't know how many of you are there right now. Okay, let's say I don't know, three people. All right, three classmates. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna I'm gonna write my names here, Nat. Okay, Nat. Okay, and the other, right? Okay, so I'm going to make a hypothesis. I'm gonna guess what what you guys are thinking. All right. So I'm gonna say most of the students, okay, in English 3.2, okay, in English 3.2, um, want to get married when they feel ready. So it's not about age, it's about whether their conditions are suitable to get married. Okay. So this is my hypothesis. Okay. In other words, just my guess. Now, in order to prove me wrong or prove me right, I have to collect some data. All right. Now, um, the question that you use, or a tool to collect your data. All right. I'm going to say data collection tool. Okay. The tool that I will use to collect my data is my question. Okay, I have to ask a valid questions. Okay, so um, my questions should not also be biased. So I'm not gonna say, um, don't you think, don't you think people should get married when they are ready? Okay, this is not a very fair questions, right? Not valid because it imposes your opinion on it and is kind of directing or guiding your participant in your way of thinking. All right, and you say, don't you think people should get married when they're ready? Maybe they they don't think that way, but because the way you ask them, they can't find anything wrong with your idea. All right. Maybe before you ask them, they might be thinking, hey, I want to get married when I turn 25, right? Because that's like my plan, that's like my goal. But when you ask them these questions, you sort of proposing them another idea. And if they can't find anything wrong in that idea within split seconds, then they have no other choice but to say yes. So you're not going to get the actual opinion from your participant. You're going to get an opinion that has been influenced by you. Okay, so you don't want to influence your participant. You want this to be a fair play. So this is not a good questions. Okay. One of the good valid ways to ask question is, um, when do you think you want to get married? Okay. Or have a family, or have a family. I mean, the devil is in how you interpret get married. Okay. Um, well, back in the days, right, people cannot, it's not socially acceptable for people to have family without getting married. It's kind of wrong, right? It's kind of wrong to do so, right? Okay, but today the social context has changed, and it's okay for some couples to have a family without getting married. Okay, so they don't need to have a marriage certificate. Okay, yeah, for whatever reasons, could be financial reasons, could be business reasons. Okay, so so back in the day, getting married and have family, they mean the same thing. Okay, but today, getting having a family doesn't mean you have to get married. Okay, and some people get married not because they want to have family, but because they want some other benefit. Like some people get married because they want to earn citizenship. Okay, or some other benefit from marrying to the person uh, who might have power. Okay, right. So um, today world's different. Okay, so but if your intention is to know, when people when if your intention is to know at when people want to have a family, meaning having a wife and children. So you have to sort of adjust your question, um, so that uh, it's encapsulate the idea of having a family, having husband or wife and children. Okay, that's why I say, when do you think you want to get married or have a family? Okay, right. So I think this is kind of a good question now, right? Okay. So suppose I ask the first guy in the class, and her name is Janet. Okay. So I asked Janet, what do you think? Sorry, when do you think you want to get married or have a family? And let's assume that Janet says, well, I'm not sure. I've haven't I haven't thought about that. I haven't I haven't thought about well, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about that yet. But my mom say if I want to have children, I should do it before I turn 40. Okay. So maybe around 35, I guess. Okay. All right. So this is what Janet say. Okay. As you can see, it is a informal language, right? Next, John. Okay. And I asked John exact same question. When do you think you want to get married or have a family? And John said, I want to have a family when I'm financially ready, right? I want to have a family, but I'm financially ready. And this would be 10 or 20 years from now. All right. Next person, Zach. Okay. And Zach said, is really not about age. Okay. It's really not about age. It's more about your legacy. It's really not about age, it's more about your legacy. So you have to ask yourself if you really do have anything to pass on. If you said yes, then get married and have some kids. Otherwise, otherwise, just live your life. All right. Okay, so suppose this is the data that I collected. Okay, now I'm going to have to process this data and to confirm whether my hypothesis is right or wrong. Okay, so if we look at Janet, right? Janet said, "Well, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about that yet. But my mom say if I want to have children, I should do it before I turn 40, right? So maybe around 35, I guess. Now, when she said 35, right? Well, of course, that's the answer, right? 35 is the answer, but she doesn't really have a reasons why she wants to get married at the age of 35, right? The reason why she picked 35 is because it's a number before 40. Okay, so actually, she believed her mom. She believed what her mom said. If her mom said, "Hey, you should get married before 50," then she's gonna get married at the age of, I don't know, 49, 48, 45. Okay, so she doesn't really have reasons for that. Okay, all right. Her mom maybe her mom may have reasons, right? Um, about why she should get married at the age, I mean, before the age of 40. All right. She, her mom might have reasons, but she doesn't clearly. Okay. But um, our goal is to mm, prove that prove whether our hypothesis is true. Now, my hypothesis say people probably want to get married when they feel ready. Okay, clearly Janet doesn't really prioritize her readiness. Okay, she prioritized what her mom say. Maybe she's not, you know, perhaps when she's turned 35, she's probably not yet ready. 36, not yet ready. She's never ready. Okay. But because her mom said, hey, you want to have kids when you get married for 40. Say she wants to have kids, right? But she's never ready, right? Maybe she hasn't found a guy whom she really loves, or she's not financially ready, or she's not mentally prepared, or whatever. Okay. But she clearly listened to her mom, right? All right. So um, you're gonna say uh, we're gonna come to a conclusion that no, this one is a no hypothesis, okay? Because my hypothesis say people get married when they feel ready. Janet's get married because her mom says so, right? So this one is a not uh, conforming with hypothesis. All right. Let's have a look at the next response. I want to have a family when I'm financially ready. And this could be 10 or 20 years from now. Suppose he's 18 years of age when I interview him. All right. 10 year from now means 28, or 20 years from now could mean 38. But that's not when he's gonna get married. Okay. He wants to get married based on one condition: financially ready. So that means if he has enough money to feed himself and also his family, that's when he's happy to have a family. So this one actually agree. Okay, it actually conforms with my hypothesis. This one is conforming. This one is good. Right now, Zach says is really not about age. It's more about your legacy. So you have to ask yourself if you really do have anything to pass on. If you say yes, then get married and have some kids. Otherwise, just live your life. Okay. So Zach basically tells you that, well, you want to get married when you have some legacy. Now, legacy could mean, um, know-how, right? Or something you discover, right? Some trade secrets, okay? Or some very fascinating, very wonderful, amazing way of doing something that is valuable, okay? Could be your, business idea, business process that you discovered, that you invented, okay? And you want this to live on. Maybe you invent some sort of products, okay? And that product is amazing, and it has to go through a very complicated, process, and you happen to be the only one who wield that power, who wield that knowledge, okay? And you don't want this knowledge to die with you. You want this knowledge to live on. So you want a protege to carry your work going forward. Okay, so yeah, get married when you are ready, when you have legacy to pass on. So this one is conforming. All right. So we have two people who actually say something that agrees with my hypothesis. Only one person says something that doesn't really agree with my hypothesis. Okay. So Um, my conclusion, right? My conclusion is my hypothesis is justifying. Okay, my hypothesis is true. Right. Now, I'm going to write a report. Okay? So, how do I write a report? First, I have to begin. I can either use I can use inductive style or deductive style. Remember about deductive and inductive? If you use deductive style, you begins with your claim, what you try to prove. But if you begins with inductive style, you leave your claims to be the last sentence. So I'm going to use maybe a deductive style because that is quite common in the worlds of academic. So I'm going to say, my guess about when I believe that my classmates want to get married or have a family. My classmates want to get married or have a family when they feel ready or prepared. Okay. All right. So you assert your claim. All right. And then you present your evidence. Okay. I believe that my classmate want to get married or have a family. Okay. To prove to prove what I believe. Okay. I interview because you have only three classmates, right? I interview. You don't want to say some classmate. You want to give the exact number. I interview three classmates. I interview three classmates of mine. I ask them when do you want to get married or have a family. I said, when you want to get married or have a family. Okay. My, okay. I'll just use her name. All right. Janet. One of my female classmates say that wanted to get married before she turned 40. According to her mom's suggestion. John, my other classmate, said he wanted to have a family when he's financially ready. And Zach felt that he should get married when he has some legacy to pass on. Okay. Zach felt that he should get married when he has some legacy to pass on. All right, so I have presented the data that I've collected, and the data suggests that my hypothesis is right, actually. So I have to write a concluding sentence just right next to it. Okay, therefore, okay, it can therefore It can be concluded based on the collected data that most of my classmates think marriage or having a family depends on individuals, uh, readiness or preparedness. Okay, something like this. All right, so this is a kind of a paragraph that, you know, is a little bit more convincing. Okay, compared to if you write it other way. Okay, so I'd like to take a short break, okay, before we move on to our next strategy. So maybe let's give ourselves 10 minutes break and then we'll come back to do some more study. See you. All right, guys, I'm back. Let us carry on. Right. Moving on to our next strategy. Don't include ideas you cannot support. All right, this is quite important because when I was doing my own assignment back in the days, okay, I don't quite understand this point, and for that reason, I lost mark. Okay, and sometimes, including idea that you can't support can also, this is in worst case, right, can also be considered plagiarism. Okay, so what is it, really about not including idea you cannot support? Now, sometimes when you write an assignment, okay, you know for a fact that a certain information is true. Okay, so for example, you know that Thai people love Isan food, for a fact. I mean, everyone that you know, every Thai person like Isan food, like som tam, all right, grilled chicken, sticky rice, all right. Okay, even those who don't come from the northeastern Thailand love northeastern food, all right. Okay, everyone. But you can't write that in an academic report that hey, every single Thai person like Isan food or northeastern food. Okay, because when you step in the area of academic world, it's always about hey, do you have evidence or not? Who said that? All right, is that information from a reliable source? You might say, hey, look, I'm Thai, okay? I grew up in this country. I'm 20 years of age. I live here for more than 20 years, and every single person I know like Isan food. Maybe this is valid in another context. When you try to convince a tourist, a visitor, just one person, and especially when you are not engaging in academic debate, all right? But when you're in the academic world, you are nobody. Okay? You don't have any power, you don't have any credibility. You are just a messenger. Okay? So you have to carry message from a source that is reliable. Okay? Now let's just say there is no source that actually conducted this large scale study just to find out if every single Thai person like Isan food. You can't make that assertion. You can't say every single Thai person love Isan food. Okay? All right. This by itself is not a very strong statement because every time you use every, okay, you are revealing to other people that you don't have you believe that you live in the perfect world. All right. Every time you say every, when you apply that to a huge population, that means you believe in the perfect world. And unfortunately, the world is not perfect. Not everything is 100%. Maybe on a small scale, yes, it is. Okay. All right. But on a large scale, right? When you make that a statement for the entire Thai people, right? It's quite hard for that statement to be true. Okay. So you can't find support. So what you're going to do? Okay. What you have to do is you have to use a smaller scale. If you want that statement to be true or more likely to be true, you have to lower the scale. So maybe instead of saying every single Thai person love Isan food, all right, you want to say, okay, everyone in my family love Isan food. Now, this is more likely to be true because your family doesn't have too large a population, and it's possible to, interview everyone in your family. Okay, it is more likely, it's more possible to get that answer from your family members. Okay, right. Plus, when you say everyone in your family, it's more like an anecdote. Okay. So it's more personal, right? So this can have a place in in academic writing, but then again, you don't want to talk about your personal life or something personal. There's actually no, it's not a place for you to talk about your life or anything. Okay, so my message for you here is if you cannot find um, source of information to back up your claim, then maybe you have to adjust your claim, right? You have to make it smaller, okay? Use a smaller scale, or 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 make some adjustment, okay? Until you can find um, information out there on the internet to back you up. All right, good. Now, um, let's have a quick look at exercise two. So, exercise two wants you to adjust the scope of the following claim and find some evidence to support it. Okay? So right now we have a very bold claim, right? It says nobody drink coffee nowadays. That is by itself a very silly statement. Okay? No one's going to believe that. All right, no one, because a person standing next to you might be drinking coffee right now. So this statement is hardly ever going to be true. But how are we going to adjust this statement so it is more acceptable, right? More persuasive. All right, so please take some time to think about this. You can add some words to the statement, of course. Okay, and if you can, try to add some evidence. All right, I'll give you 3 minutes to think about. All right, you have any idea? Please just open your microphone and talk to me, or write me your answer in the chat. All right. Okay, let's have a look at. All right. Okay, so nothing here. Okay, so let's see. So no to drink coffee nowadays. This is quite bold, isn't it? This is too bold a statement. So let's try to make some adjustment. Okay. How about if I say nobody, okay, drinks coffee at midnight. Okay, at midnight nowadays. Okay. Right. I know that this statement is not 100% convincing because there may be some hardworking student who probably drink coffee at midnight just to stay awake, to do study. But this is clearly more acceptable than the previous statement. Because previous statement, right, is make a generalization for everyone, right? How could you say that no one drinks coffee? Because coffee is everywhere, right? It's one of the most popular drinks in the world. Okay? Right. But by adding at midnight, right? Nobody drinks coffee at midnight nowadays. This is more likely to be true, given the fact that, coffee keeps you awake, and, by drinking it at midnight, you have a hard time going back to sleep. Okay. So this is one way to do it. Well, there's several ways to do it. You can also use some things like nobody who have heart conditions drink um drink a lot of drink a lot of coffee. Okay, nobody who have heart conditions drink a lot of coffee nowadays. Okay, now this is again is more acceptable than the original statement. Okay, so what I did is that I add a relative clause just to specify the type of people, right? Nobody who have heart conditions drink a lot of coffee. Yeah, this is more likely to be true because people who have heart conditions, they probably want to avoid caffeines, right? Because caffeines can increase the heart rate, all right, and it can put them at risk of heart failure. Okay, right. So that's an example. Okay. Now, to provide evidence, I mean, if you want to go to that length, that would be cool. But for now, this is just to serve the purpose of, knowing how to adjust your claim so that is more likely to be, acceptable. Next, let's talk about establishing credibility. Okay, so let's just say you make a claim, right? And you say that um, you say the use of EV, okay, can save on your fuel expense. No, maybe don't say that. The use of EV can is good for the envi is good for the environment because it produces practically no carbon emissions. The use of EV is good for the environment because it produces practically no carbon emissions. Say Gordon Ramsay. Okay. The world's uh, one of the world's most renowned chefs. Okay. Now, if you make this claim, the use of AV is good for the environment. Okay. Here's the claim. All right. This is regarded as a claim. Anything that follows because is your justification. All right. Anything that follows because is your justification or your reasoning. Okay. Now, when you say because it produces practically no carbon emissions, this sounds good, even though we don't know where you obtain that information. But when you reveal your source of information, say Gordon Ramsay, okay, and maybe let's assume that not everyone know Gordon Ramsay, so you are kind enough to provide a brief profile of his. One of the world's most renowned chefs. Okay. Now, with this information, do you think this justification will make your claim more persuasive or less persuasive? The answer is it depends on the audience. If your audience is somebody who knows about electricity, who knows very well about the environment, he's not going to buy this claim, right? Because your justification comes from a source that has nothing to do with electricity, with electrical engineering, or with environmental engineering. All right. It comes from somebody whose background is in cooking or somebody who has culinary background. Okay. So it doesn't mean people who have culinary background will have absolutely zero knowledge about environment or carbon emissions. Well, maybe there could be a chef whose background is in electrical engineering. There might be chefs whose background is in environmental engineering, um, when but nobody is going to go that far. Nobody's going to be looking into Gordon Ramsay's past education and history, um, and to see that whether he has a background in environmental engineering or electrical engineering or not. Okay, so this justification will fail because it's come from a source that has no credibility, all right? A source that has no credibility as far as your claim is concerned, okay? So every time you make a claim, okay, you have to know which field do you think your claim belongs to, okay? Which field you think the claims belong to? And that depends on the words that you use in your claim, okay? Sometimes you make a claim that is outside of your interest. It is possible for you to make a claim that is outside of your field of study, Okay, but you then have to sort of try to figure out which field do you think do I think my claims belong to? Okay. Now, when you see words like AV, what's that stand for? Stand for electrical vehicle, electricity, environment. Okay. All right. So, um, um, this is a claim that overlaps between environmental engineering. Okay. You could have chemical engineering, and you can have electrical engineering. Okay. All right, it overlaps many fields. Okay, so basically, if your source of information comes from chemical engineering, electrical engineering, environmental engineering, acceptable. Okay, from other field, maybe not as persuasive as from one of the three fields. Okay, so first, you might want to keep the reasoning. It produces practically no carbon emission. That is probably true, okay? But you have to uh, change the source, okay? So maybe in your Google Scholar, you can just write um, the statement EV produces a lot less carbon emissions, okay? But you have to tell your Google Scholar to obtain this statement from a research paper in the field of environmental engineering, chemical engineering, or electrical engineering. Okay, and if it can find the relevant paper, then you just have to look for the other. All right, the other might be someone whom you don't know. He might not be as well known as Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, actually, everyone knows Gordon Ramsay. He's super famous, right? All right, but as long as his background, all right, is related to the field where your claims belong, all right, your statement or your assertion is going to be very, very persuasive. Okay. All right. Now, here's another example. Okay. If I were to tell you that, hey, you know what? Uh, Global warming is very bad, right? Global warming will ruin everyone's life in the futures. You're gonna ask me how you know that? And if I tell you, yo, because this guy named Michio Kaku told me so, and you'd be like, who is Michio Kaku? Who is he? Is he some Japanese mixed martial artist? Who is he? Why should I believe him? Okay. So sometimes when you write your assignment, okay, it might help to provide a brief biography of your information source, right? I know that everyone is used to using this parenthetical in-text citation where you put just the surname of the author and the publication year, all right, in the parentheses, right? And you would put that bracket, that thing, at the end of the sentence, and you would go on and write some other sentence, right? This is okay, all right? If you don't really want to sort of highlight or emphasize that piece of information, all right? It's like you don't really care if people are going to believe this or not. But for the part of your assignment that you really want your audience to believe you, to take it seriously, okay, then you want to switch from parenthetical style to the narrative style. Okay, so narrative style is when you not only add the name of the author, sorry, the surname of the author, and a publication date, but also a short biography. Okay, so that your audience know whether he has a background. In other words, he know what he say. All right, your audience can see that. Okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, if you want to make a claim about science, then your source should have some scientific background, right? Or scientists can make scientific claim, right? Engineers can make engineering claims, all right? Doctors can make medical claim, okay? You don't want engineers to be making medical claim or doctors to be making engineering claim, right? Okay, they're smart people, yes, but their specialty is different. Okay, so Michio Kaku, a Japanese American theoretical physicist and a professor of theoretical physics at the City College of New York and Kearney Graduate Center. All right, so this information, this brief biography, okay, will make a difference, right? It will help you to help your audience to take this more seriously because, hey, Michio Kaku is not just anyone. It's not an average Joe. He is a serious scientist. He's a physicist. Okay, so if he's a physicist, then he must have great knowledge about the nature, about how the everything operates, how everything works, right? Okay, so this claim is a lot more powerful, right, when we consider where it comes from. Okay, so Mr. Kaku say, as humans in a free country, we're free to believe whatever we want about global warming and to disagree about anything, but any comment that has relevance has to be backed up by both mathematics and data, not just good intentions. So Kaku, he's not saying whether global warming is real or not, okay? He's basically making a claim um, about what you need to uh, consider before you decide to believe something, right? You don't make a decision to believe something only because somebody has a goodwill, right? Okay, like you don't just take somebody's advice to, hey, Nat, you should take some supplement. Why? Because it should be good for you, right? I'm not going to just go on and buy supplement because I feel that this guy means well for me. He wants good thing for me. I'm not just going to do that. All right. I have to go beyond that, right? Just because someone is trying to be nice to me doesn't mean if information is accurate, is correct, right? It might do harm to me if I take certain supplement that my body doesn't agree with, right? If I take some certain supplement that my body is allergic to, right? So I need to know why I am taking supplement, right? What sort of nutrients am I lacking, right? Where do those nutrients exist, right? Can I get those nutrients by eating normal food that I eat every day? How important are those nutrients for my body functions? Okay. If can find the answer to all of that, and all the answer point to, hey, Nat, you should buy a certain supplement, then I'll go and buy the supplement. All right. But if I can get that nutrients, okay, from food that I can find but normally don't eat, like maybe vitamins, all right, okay, from apples. And I don't eat apples, but instead of you know spending my money on expensive, supplement that contain exact same thing that apples do, why don't I just go buy some apples, right? Okay, right. Now, let's have a look at exercise 3. Find a credible person on the internet to support the following claim. Education is important for self-improvement and the development of a country. Give details about the person as to why he is credible. All right, so I encourage that you guys try to do this. Okay, so what you have to do is very simple. Okay, this is a claim that you want to promote. All right, uh, you want to believe in this claim. You want people. to take this seriously. Okay, but you need some justification. You need some backup. You need some support. All right, you have to go out there on the internet to find a support. All right. Okay, so you'll be able to definitely find support. Yes, there's a lot of nice, beautiful statement out there. But the thing is, do who wrote that support, right? From whom does that support come? If it comes from a reliable person, a well-respected person, cool. But if it comes from nobody, maybe a YouTube comment. YouTube comment's good, right? I get a lot of knowledge and entertainment just by reading YouTube comments. Sometimes I read YouTube comments more than I watch videos, right? And I learn a lot, right? They're both funny and entertaining and educational, but I can never give credit to people who wrote that comment because then nobody, I don't even know who they are. The name of the user probably not even real, right? Okay, so what matter is that you get information from a credible source, from a well-respected figures, right? So I want you to take 5 minutes to try to do this exercise, okay? And maybe share it with me, or if you don't want to share it with me, at least try to do it for your own good. Okay, you guys ready? All right. Um, let's see if you've got anything. All right. It's all good. So let's um let's go online, all right? And I'm going to type similar things here. Education is important for self-improvement and development of a country. So education is important for self-improvement and development of a country. All right. Now I'm going to um how about I'll just put famous quote about education and development. Okay. Now, uh, we want to let's have a look at this one here. Education is for improving the life of other and for living your community and worlds better than you found it. Wow, this is not bad. All right, this actually agrees with the statement. Okay, but we need to know who Marian Wright Elderman is. Okay, let's hope he has some. You know, let's just hope that he has a background or a career in a you know maybe a college professor or something, Marian Wright Edelman, okay? A successful businessman or whatever. Marian, what was it? Marian Wright Edelman. Marian, Wright, Rigst, Edelman. Okay, so who is she? So she is an American activist and former president of Children Defense Fund. So she's an activist. All right, so yeah, she's an activist. That's not bad. All right, sure. Let's have a look at her education background. So she went to Yale Law School and she graduated from Yale University. Wow, okay, that's very respectable. All right, so we put a pin on this one here, and let's have a look at some other quotes from high-profile figures. I came across this one here. I know this guy, Kofi Annan, right? He's the president of the United Nations. And he said, education is human right with immense power to transform. On its foundation rests the cornerstone of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Okay. So this one is quite powerful because it's come from a guy who a lot of people respect. Okay. So This is pretty good. We'll put a pin on that as well. All right, we'll come back if we can find more. Okay. What about this? Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world, and that's from Nelson Mandela. Oh, wow. And Nelson Mandela, he's the first president of South Africa, the first black president, I should say, of South Africa. And okay, nobody doesn't know who this guy is. Albert Einstein, right? One of the world's most famous physicists of all time. Education is not learning of facts, but training of the mind to think. Well, this is good, but this is not really corresponding with our statement of education because our education statement is more focusing on development being the result of education. This doesn't really talk about the result of education. It's more about how education should work, right? Education is not about memorizing facts. It's about training your mind to think. It's about how to learn effectively, right? Okay, so we're gonna skip this one. We like the guy, but his quote is not really going to back up our claim. Okay, anything else? Nope. Okay, so I think I'll just stick to Kofi Annan's statement. Okay, so he said, oops, education is human rights with immense power to transform. On its foundation rests the cornerstone of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Okay, so I'm going to paraphrase this too. Education um, has an immense power to transform, okay, as to transform, okay, to transform. I might say education is has an immense, okay, to to uh, to create sustainable human development. How about that? Okay. So I want to say, in my opinion, education is important for self-improvement and the development of a country. Education is important for self-improvement and the development of a country. According to Kofi Annan, okay, COANNAN, right? Who is Secretary General of United Nations? Okay, Secretary General of the United Nations.
Education has an immense power to transform the world, leading to sustainable human development. All right, so this is how we do it. Okay, let's move on. So, acknowledging counter argument. All right, so this is our next persuasive strategy we want to talk about today. So, what is it exactly, acknowledging counter argument? So every time we engage in a debate, so debate is a kind of a fight, right, between two sides of between two trains of thoughts, okay, between two parties. Okay, so when we have a fight, right, we usually have two possible answers. Either you agree with the dissenter, or you you be on the same side as a supporter. Okay, right. But when it comes to making your argument persuasive, it doesn't really matter which side you are on. Okay, you want to be on the black side or the white side, red corner, blue corner. It doesn't really matter. What matter is that you actually understand what the other side is thinking. That's what matters the most. Okay, you can disagree or agree with anything in the world, but if you want to make your opinion more persuasive, if you want other people to accept your opinion, you have to show them that you have studied what other people think, especially those who think differently from you. Okay? For example, if I'm going to convince you that, 2 plus 3 plus 5, 2 plus 3 multiply 5 is actually equal to 14, not 25. Not even 14, 17, and not 25. Okay? I have to understand why somebody get 25 by doing this simple arithmetics. Okay? I can't just say, hey, the answer is 17. All right? I can't just say that. All right? I can't say, hey, the answer is 17 because 5 times 3 is 15. And as 2 plus 15 is 17. You see, I can't just say that because those who arrive at the different answer clearly did not go through the same process. Okay? And if they don't understand why they have to multiply first before they add, they're just going to keep hating mathematics for being somewhat um, uh, being such a dictator. They're going to hate mathematicians. They're going to think, hey, all mathematicians are dictators. What is wrong with me trying to add 2 to 3 and then multiply by 5? What's wrong with that, right? Because I see 2 plus 3 first. Why can't I just add 2 and 3 and then multiply by 5? Okay? So I would fail to convince other students. If I'm a teacher, all right, and then my students write, hey, 2 plus 3 times 5 is 25. And I just go, hey, look, you're wrong. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 2 is 17. They might, at the end of the day, um, they might have to agree with you. but it's more like agree to disagree. All right. It's like, I don't want any trouble, right? You're the teacher. Whatever you say is right. Just let me pass. Okay. At the end of the day, it's going to be like this. They are not on your side, right? Okay. They still believe that they are right and they believe that you're wrong. But because they don't want any trouble, they just agree to disagree. And I don't want that. Okay. I don't want to win the argument. I just want um, students to learn. But in this case, by making them learn, I have to make them accept my opinion, not really make like forcing, but I have to give them good reasoning so that they can accept my my claim that hey, 2 plus 3 times 5 is really 17. So how should I do that? I need to sort of try to look at it from the perspective of students who are not good at math, right? Students who are not good at math, they probably just add 2 and 3 first. And they do it because they see this operation for the C plus before multiplying. So it's intuitive for people to add first because they see it first. So people going from left to right, 2 plus 3 is 5, and then 5 times 5 is 25. That's how people get 25. But I have to tell them, hey, this is wrong. How do I explain that? Well, I can tell them that, look, think about it this way, right? If I give you, if let's just say you are selling some candies, and I'm the only person who passed by, all right, and you're not making any sales, and I feel pity for you. So I give $2 to you because I feel pity for you. Okay. And then I'm like, hey, maybe I could use some candies. Right? I haven't eaten anything since morning. Maybe I can get some, I can use some sugar from your candies. So I asked, hey, how much do you sell it for? You said, well, it's $5 each. I'm like, okay, I'll take three. Okay. So your price rate is $5 per one bar of candies. And I'm getting how many? I'm getting 3 bar. Okay. So clearly, when we add, we have to add the same thing with the same unit. Okay. Now you will see that I cannot add 2 and 3 together because 2 is in dollars, but 3 is not in dollars. 3 is in bar. They are different thing. $2 money, 3 bars candy. Their money and candy, they don't add up. They're different things. I can only add money and money and bars of candy to another bar of candy. I cannot add money and bars together. So I have to evaluate this first. I have to evaluate how much money will I make from selling 3 bars of candy for $5 a bar. And then bar will cancel out, leaving me with just 15. Okay, so I will now have $2. That's free money. Add another 15. That is from my sale. This is a money that you get for free, and this is the money that you make from selling your products. Now they have the exact same unit. They're both in dollars. Now you can add up. So 2 plus 15 is 17. Okay. So this is how you convince people, right? To convince people, it's not just, it's sometimes it's not really about the validity of your information or the soundness of your information, right? Okay. Maybe your answer is valid and sound, and it can even come from a very, um, a good, reliable source, right? But if if you fail to understand what other people are thinking, you will not be able to change their thinking mechanism. They will not be able to change the way they think. All right. Okay. You just force them. Okay. You don't want to force them. You want, you want to win their heart. All right. So that is quite a noble technique. As you can see, I spend a lot of time talking about this because I want to focus on this particular strategy. Okay. Now, let's have a look at another example of how you could use acknowledge counter argument to persuade people, to get people to do what you want. Okay, let's have a look at this example of someone try to borrow his friend's car. Okay, so this guy names we don't know what his name is, and his friend's name is John, right? So he walk up to John and say, "Hey, yo, John, can I borrow your car tomorrow morning? I have a job interview, and I can't get there by bus. I really want this job. What do you say?" If you were John, would you lend your car to this person? Well, don't tell me yet, okay? Let's try another example. Okay, same thing. All right, this guy want to borrow a car from John, but this is the way he say, "John, I know you don't like to let other people drive your car, especially since you put so much time into rebuilding it, but I'm hoping you make an exception. I have a job interview tomorrow and I can't get there by bus. I'm really excited about this job. I promise to have it back by noon with full tank of gas. And to show my appreciation, I'll take her to the car wash on my way back." All right. Now you see the difference, okay? Of course, the second one is longer, right? Because he put some thinking into this, right? The main difference between the first one and the second one is that the first one doesn't really care about the other person, okay? If you try to borrow Jean's car, it's pretty much like you engaging in a debate. And the question is, should I get the car? Now, John is definitely going to be on the opposite side because he has to lend you the car. He's going to not want to lend his car, right? So you can't assume that he's on the same side as you, right? You have to assume that he's on a different side. So John is not going to want to lend you his car. It's on the different side. Your job is to pull him toward your side so that he's on your side completely and will let you drive his car, let you use his car. Okay, so the guy in the first example clearly doesn't realize that. He believes John is already on his side, and doesn't matter what he say, John will give him, John will let him borrow his car anyway. That is not smart. Okay, um, because John doesn't have to be on the same side, but don't assume John is on the same side. Okay, the other one assumes John is on a different side, okay? And he's trying to pull John toward his side. So he has to show John that he actually understands what John is thinking as the owner of a car, all right? John probably doesn't want people to use his car because he puts so much time and effort into making it nice. Okay, so he realized that. So he tells John that, hey, I understand that you really loved your car, but don't worry, I'll return it back here as soon as possible, and I'll wash it for you. Okay, and I'll fill it up too. So when they say he will wash the car for John, all right, it shows that he truly realized what it's like to be someone who love his car, right? He's not just showing that he he understand, but he know what he has to do. Okay, it's not just saying that, hey, I understand you like the car, but he shows that he truly get it. It's gonna wash it for him. Right? Action speaks louder than the word. Okay, so John is going to be very happy to let the second guy borrow his car, right? Okay, now let us try to do our own exercise. So exercise 4, we have a statement. Online shopping is better than physical shopping. Okay? And this is something that I want you to do. I want you to think for yourself, right? Do you agree with this, right? Do you think online shopping is better than physical shopping? Okay? If you think so, cool, right? But what you have to do is try to think about why some people dislike or doesn't approve of online shopping. Okay, you have to think about those people and try to understand the argument. Once you have understood the argument, you have to look for the loophole or the weakness in the argument and try to attack it. Okay, so the argument is less powerful than you. Once the argument is less powerful than you, then you present your own arguments about why online shopping is better. Likewise, okay, if you disagree with this statement, right, you believe physical shopping is going to last. Physical shopping is here to stay. Online shopping will be here for feel for a while and it will disappear. All right. If you are in favor of physical shopping, again, you have to think about why some people prefer online shopping. Why do you think those people believe online shopping is more advantageous? But then again, you have to identify weakness in their statement and try to attack, and then present your own argument. Okay? Now, this is a very good exercise. Okay? I want you to spend some time on it. Okay? So take your time. I'll give you 5 minutes to come up with your response. Okay? And then we'll take it from there. Okay, so you guys got something for me? No worries at all. All right, now let's get rid of this. All right. Okay, so let us first try to agree with that. Okay, so let's say my thesis. Okay, my thesis is that I actually like the idea, right? Online shopping is more, is better. I'm gonna make it a simple statement. It's better. It's better than physical shopping. Okay. Now, I have to think about why some people might not like this idea. So I'm going to put the dissenter because I am of the opinion that online is better. So I know what other people who are on the same side as me are thinking. I don't have to worry about those people. I have to worry about people who think differently from me. Okay? So think about a dissenter. So why are they thinking that online shopping is not better? So dissenter might be thinking about um, credit card fraud, right? Uh, they might be thinking about credit card theft. Okay. Now the words sensitive of, of buyers credit card could fall into the wrong hand. Okay. And they might be thinking about uh, fraud, like item received are not as advertised. Okay. Now, I have to try now to attack these two ideas. Okay? Right, just to make them change their mind. Okay, so for the first one, okay, credit card theft, uh, might be able to attack it by saying that maybe I'll just highlight it red with red color. Okay, and when I attack, I'm gonna use green color. Okay, so I can say that back in the days, back in the day, um, it was possible for hackers to get their hand on your credit card information and make purchase without your knowledge as the as there as there was no secure payment. There was no secure payment. It was possible for hackers to get their hand on your credit card information and made purchase without your knowledge, as there was no secure payment. Okay, so I show that I understand them. Okay. However, I have to be able to attack them, right? However, a lot of shopping platforms, okay, such as Shopee and Lazada, okay, in Thailand, of course. Not only have a very advanced secure payment system, right? Not only have a very advanced secure payment system, but also offer various payment method, such as cash, where buyers only pay once they receive the items. Moreover, they also have a policy in buyer protection policy, where money is only released to sellers once the buyers confirm that the items match the description and are well received. Okay? All right. So this is how you want to do it. All right. Okay. You may have your opinion, right? Like in this case here, I want to agree. I want to believe that online shopping is better. Okay. But I'm not gonna go ahead and talk about all the upsides of buying things online. Right? Like, oh, if you buy things online, you can save a lot of money on your on transportation. All right, it's more convenient because you don't have to leave your house. All right, and you can buy from different vendors. Okay, so it gives you more opportunity to do shopping, right? You can buy stuff from many different locations across country all in one day. Right? Okay, but I'm not going to talk about those. Okay, I'm not going to talk about those. I'm going to focus more on why is it that some people still want to stick to the conventional method of buying. All right, why is it that some people refuse to change? Right? What's their reason? I want to know. Okay, but I don't have these people sitting next to me, so I can only imagine why they want to stick to the conventional method. Okay. And one thing I could come up with is, well, it's probably because the fear, the fear, the fear for the money. They don't want to lose their money. Okay. And in the past, right, there used to be new headlines about, people losing their money from buying things online or have their credit card stolen. And the hackers who stole the credit cards use the credit cards to make purchase without their knowledge. So they end up owing the bank a lot of money. They can't pay off, right? And the authority could not apprehend the culprit. So they have to be responsible for owing for owing the banks a lot of money, right? They're responsible for having to pay off the debt that they did not create, and that's actually quite dangerous. So I can understand why people who grew up during those days, and have witnessed the horrible experience. Okay. Okay, but today it is different, right? The world has changed. Okay, there's payment system that is a lot more secure. Okay, there's some things like a one-time password or OTP. Okay, so this is just to double check that you are who you are when you make purchase, right? Because somebody could hack into your account and then make purchase on your behalf. But the moment they're going to click pay, right, using your credit card, it's going to send a a password, a passcode to your phone number. Okay, so even though they can hack into your account, unless they have stolen your cell phone as well, they will not be able to make that purchase. So it's make the system more secure, right? Because you're the only one who can give permission to the final stage of payment, right? And if it is not good enough, right? Many online platforms have a consumer protection policy. Okay, like every time you buy something and one is delivered, you have to click confirm that the item has been received, right? So you will have I don't know, maybe 1 week to do so. Okay, if you click reject, right? If you refuse to receive the items, then that means the items will be sent back to the seller, and the money will be refunded to you. So the seller is not getting anything. Okay, but after 1 week and you're not doing anything, then it is assumed that you confirm that you accept the item, and the money will be released to the seller. Okay, so yeah, it's not just the payment system, it's the policy that also make it safer and nicer for buyers. So they have less to worry about. Okay. Mm. All right. Now, what about the second one, like fraud, right? Items received are not advertised. Okay. Um, you think you can deal with that? Right, item received are not advertised. Maybe you could use the same reasons, right? Because if the items that you receive are not the same as the way they were advertised, you just don't agree to accept the item, right? Okay. Just click on the options where you want to send it back. What happened? My screen is not sharing. Let's try again. Let's share my screen. All right, it's better. All right, now let us go ahead and write a paragraph for this one. Okay, so we have done some brainstorming. Now it's time to write some paragraph. So I'm going to have a thesis statement or the main idea. Okay, and I'm going to say, uh, in my opinion, I'd rather buy things online than visit the shop to make purchase like in the old days. Like the old days. The first reason is that online shopping is very safe. It's very safe nowadays. Okay, so you see, if I can attack this idea, I can sort of steal an idea. Okay, so because I can argue against those who fear online shopping, they fear that they might, lose their money over credit card theft. I can now say that buying things online is actually safe. Okay, the first reason is that online shopping is very safe nowadays. But first, I'm going to show them that I actually understand you. I know why you scared of online shopping. Days. While it is true, while it is true that while it's true that online shopping used to have a bad reputation regarding credit card theft, theft, it is almost it is it is extremely rare nowadays today for someone to have their credit card compromised. This is because they don't have to pay by credit card in the first place. This is because they don't have to pay a credit card in the first place. As many online shopping as many online shopping platforms offer, accept various payment methods. Such as cash, all right? They don't have to pay by credit card in the first place. As many online shopping platforms accept various payment methods such as cash and bank transfer. Okay, right. Moreover, consumer protection policy is already in place, right? Consumer protection policy is already in place in many, it's already in place in many platforms, which increase the buyers' confidence. For example, if buyers have found that the items they order do not match the description They have an option not to accept the item. They have an option not to accept the item. And get a full refund. Okay. So this is it. Okay, so this is an example. All right. Now there is the last strategy is not that big of a deal. All right, it's all about avoiding absolutes. So absolutes are words like all, just about sorry, absolute words like all or none, right? You want to avoid words like all or every or none, okay? Because it's make a very strong assumption that everything is 100%, all right? But in the real world, not everything is 100%. So every time you want to use words like all or every, use words like most or just about all, just about every, the majority of, or many, right? And instead of using words like none, try to go for words like very few, almost none, only a handful, some, or with a few exceptions. Okay, that's it. No big deal. Now, we're going to go back to the very beginning and we're going to review the answer because that's all the time we have. So, to convince people, all we have to do is state facts. Is that true? No, it's not true. All right. Strategy also play a key role here. Being specific is to include as many details as possible. What do you think? Yes, right. You have to include as many details as possible to be specific. Number three, if we know that something is definitely true, although we can't find evidence, we can keep going because it's a common sense. That is not a bad thing to do at all. Number four, we could use any source of information as long as it says something that agrees with us. That is actually true. Yes. We should acknowledge counter arguments in order to be more persuasive. Absolutely. You want to do that. Number six, you have to choose only one strategy to convince your readers. No, there are multiple strategies to do so. Words like all, ever, and none will make our argument strong. What do you think? This is actually false. Number eight, the credibility of an expert has to do with his specialty and his experience. What do you think? Credibility of an expert has to do with his specialty and his experience. This is actually true. Number nine, acknowledging counter arguments means we are not confident. Is that right? No, not at all. Okay. Acknowledging counter arguments doesn't mean we're not confident. It means that it actually make us more persuasive because it shows that we are not biased. Number 10, the choices of words and structures play an important role in our persuasive strategies. Yes, definitely. All right, so thank you guys for participation and I wish you all the best for your upcoming events, be it the assignment or exams, okay? And I hope to see you guys again in English 4 level 5 where we do some exam preparation for the IELTS. Thank you very much. Goodbye.